If you can focus on the actions and not on the results, you will move towards your goals. In the workbook, I alluded to, and I think it's on page 4 and 5 on the workbook. Um, I suggested that you do a checkup from the neck up with your business. Actually, it's page 3. A checkup from the neck up from your business. Now, why do we do this? Well, we need to know where we are. That's the first thing. And with this checkup from the neck up, you can start saying, well, what's my current sales turnover? And I've deliberately used 335,000 because I'm going to tell a story about this 335,000. Now, if your sales turnover is 335,000 and you have 335 customers, typically your average customer is valued at 1,000. I think we'd agree with that, yeah? So with this checkup from the neck up, if you want your turnover to increase from 335,000 to 350,000, you would need typically 15 customers at £1,000 each to get to that point, which is actually 1.13 or something like that customers a week, which is really easy to do. So I'd like to share with you this story, which some of you have heard before, but sometimes these stories, and I do believe that repetition is the number one rule of all learning. Sometimes these stories serve as empowerment, and that's the whole point of this story here. I work with a printer in Leeds in Yorkshire, and his annual turnover was £335,000 a year. He'd been operating for 16 years and could not increase his turnover. I said to him, look, how about we get your turnover to over £500,000 within the next 18 months? Now, can you imagine what he said to me? He spent 16 years getting it to 335,000. I said we're going to do 165,000 more within the next 18 months. He laughed at me literally. I can't do that, Gary. And this is the problem, isn't it, with I can't? Because as Sir Henry Ford said, if you think you can, you can. And if you think you can't, you're right. So Dave was already beaten before he even started his business. And then we went through this really simple checkup from the neck up, where we said, right, Dave, we want to get you from £335,000 a year turnover. We want to get you to 500,000. Your average customer is worth £1,000, which means to increase by £165,000, we need 165 additional customers. I hope that makes sense. But that's nearly half of his customer base again that we need to get. So he's beaten. It's like if I said to you all, let's go and do a 10-mile swim tomorrow. Most people would say, well, I can't do a 10-mile swim. And you'd probably be right because that's a big achievement. But if I said we're going to do a 10-mile swim, but we're going to swim 100 meters over the next 165 days, you'd probably think, well, that's quite achievable. And that's what happened with Dave. Because what we did was we divided the 165 new clients by the 18 months, which meant he only needed 9 new clients a month, which is still a big ask for somebody who's not really grown that much. But then we said, well, there's you and your son, Chris, in the business, which means you now need 9 customers a month, which is 2 a week. There's you and Chris in the business. If you each set a target of gathering 1 customer each a week, could you do that? And they did. So they grew their business to the allotted amount, not because of anything other than they believed it was achievable. So, ladies and gents, what I'm trying to say here is whatever the mind can conceive and believe, it can achieve.